we will call the meeting to order, and I will ask the district attorney to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Off mute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now that just gave the citizenry of Lackawanna County a good view of our midsections, and as we all stood up to say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I noticed Frank got out of the way of this, so he didn't want to show his midsection to anybody.
No, Judge, I did my pledge. I had to go get my agenda.
Tracy, as he always does, a wonderful job in circulating all of the materials ahead of time, particularly now with the backup of meetings, not only for the prison board, but the commissioners and everything else. So I trust that I had sufficient opportunity to review them. And in the absence of any objection, I'll call for an approval of the minutes of our meetings that have taken place, I believe, since January.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anybody wish to make a motion?
I will make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, the second on the question. No questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved up to date. Now we're taking questions via email, and so it's my understanding that Tracy's email address was placed not only on Facebook but also on the county website. So have we received any questions from the public for agenda items?
We have not, no.
So we'll move right then into the motion. Everybody had an opportunity to get to view the agenda, I take it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the first item on the agenda is item 20-2016, a motion to approve all current payables for the Community Correction Center as well as the prison. I take it everybody's had an opportunity to review those, and assuming that you have, can I hear a motion to approve all current payables?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Dominic, do I have a second?
Second, Chris Shermack.
Second by Commissioner Shermack. Thank you. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Current payables are approved. Let's go into the reports. Item 20-2013, the controller's reports. You have been provided with attachments dating back to December and up through March. So, Mr. DeBillio?
Needed to prepare reports for the prison inmate and canteen accounts for December, January, February, and March, which you all should have in your packets. I can give you the most recent numbers through March that will bring us up to date currently, if that's acceptable with the board.
Okay.
And with that said, the Controller's Office has reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations for the months of December of 2019, January, February, and March of 2020, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $384,000 $668.70 as of March 31st of 2020. The balance in the canteen checking account was $413,599.26 as of March 31st of 2020. And in addition, as of March 31st, the canteen account owned two certificates of deposit, one valued at $15,000 and the other at $132,152.18, which totals $147,152.18. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Controller DeVillio? Gary, when do those CDs come around again? When do they come due? Do you know?
The CDs, okay, when did the CDs come due? I have my chief internal auditor here in the room with me.
Okay.
The maturity date for the $15,000 CD is December 4th of 2020.
Okay.
And the maturity date for the larger one with 132,000 in it is June 18th of 2020.
Okay.
June 18th. So on that one, we should have enough time to look into rates, if you'd like to.
I think it'd be worthwhile. I mean, it's been a tumultuous market, certainly, but I think it's worth our while to look around and see if what kind of rates are up there.
That sounds good. I think the last time we discussed this, Judge, it was a matter of who had the authority to talk to the banks about the rates, whether it be the commissioners or the warden. And I think it was determined the commissioners would have the authority, but
I'm not talking about locking anything in. I'm just
Right.
looking and see what's out there.
just to get the information.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll attempt to do that then for the next meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the controller? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve Mr. DeVillio's report.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, Controller DeVillio.
Welcome.
We'll go next to the Community Corrections Center report.
Your Honor, we have two reports, one for February and one for March. Do you want them read separately and voted on, or do you want them read together and voted on?
Why don't you summarize them separately, please?
Okay, thank you. The Community Corrections Report for February 2020. Item 1, male work release had 29 participants and female work release had 7 participants. Adult house arrest had 114 participants and juvenile house arrest had 10 participants. Item 2, our program's revenues for the month of February totaled $47,297.36. Our program's expenses for the month of February totaled $98,606.82. Our program's completions for for February, work release had 4, house arrest had 27. Item 5, our program violations, work release had 2, house arrest had 8. Our program's warrants, work release had 6, house arrest had 3. And our budget for the month of up to the end of February, overtime was at 34%, expenses were at 14%, and revenue was at 15%. That concludes the report for the month of February 2020.
Thank you. How about March?
March. The report for March 2020, item 1, male work release had 32 participants, female work release had 3, house arrest had 180 participants, and juvenile house arrest had 7. Item 2, the revenues programs for the month of March totaled $33,166.91. Item 3, the program's expenses for the month of March total $101,051.80. Item 4, the program's completions. Work release had 30 completions and house arrest had 23. Violations, work release had 2 and house arrest had 6. The program's warrants, work release had 6, house arrest had 3, and the budget up to the end of March, overtime was at 45%, expenses at 23%, and revenue was at 20%.
Okay.
That concludes the report. As you can see, Your Honor, and the rest of the board, if you follow, the male work release had 32 participants in it for the entire month of March. The 30 that were released were moved over to house arrest, and 2 were returned to the prison for major violations.
Any suggestion, without getting into specifics, but any issues with the virus at all in the work release?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear you.
Any issues with the virus at all in the work release center? Or
There was no cause for COVID-19 in the work release center or in house arrest when their participants were in the building itself.
Okay. All right, good. Any
That
questions,
concludes. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jeffers? Okay, hearing no questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the February and March Community Corrections Center reports.
So moved.
I have a second
Second.
on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I had you on mute. Aye.
Okay. It's all right. A lot of the women in my life have me on mute all the time, so don't worry about that. Okay, so the CCC reports are approved, and thank you for doing double duty, Mr. Jeffers, as Chief of Staff as well as Community Corrections Center. So, and then we'll come to the Warden's report. Warden, you have reports for March and April, I believe, right?
Yes, I do, and I'm ready to read them off. I'll just condense the report from March because there's a lot of redundancy in the April report. March, the average daily population actually is talking about February. It was 677 inmates, 505 were county inmates. As of March 13th, we had 673 inmates, 584 were male, 89 female, and no juveniles at that time. The U.S. Marshals Service population was 168 on March 13th. Skipping down to the budget, as of February 29th, our revenue was at 23% and our expenses were at 17%. Extraordinary occurrence reports. There were 4 extraordinary occurrences since our since our February prison board report. On March 5th, the county inmate refused to be moved to Norristown State Hospital. We had to utilize a cell extraction team, and he was removed from a cell, placed into a restraint chair, and moved to booking for his transport. As some of you may be aware, Norristown State Hospital deals with people with mental health issues. So this was an individual who had mental health issues and refusing to go. On March 24th, a federal inmate was expressing suicidal ideations and banging his head off the cell wall. A cell extraction team was assembled after numerous attempts were made to have him cuffed voluntarily. During the cell extraction, the inmate banged his head on the wall and on the floor, and unfortunately, he later succumbed to injuries and passed away. PREA, there was one PREA investigation completed in the month of February. It was an inmate allegation of sexual misconduct. It was deemed unfounded. The completed pre-investigation was forwarded to the district attorney's office. And that concludes the report for March. This month's report, April, the average daily population for March was 641 inmates, 471 were county inmates. As of 4/28, just 2 days ago or a day ago, we had 465 inmates. 419 were males, 45 females, and 1 juvenile male. The population of the U.S. Marshal detainees as of 4/28 was 154 individuals. Our overtime, out-of-county boarding, and community service reports are attached. Our staffing update. Currently, officers on shift 175 full-time, 7 part-time. Out on workers' comp, we have 2. 1 individual is on continuous FMLA and 2 are on administrative leave. There are currently 6 part-time vacancies for a total of 180 full-time officers and 13 part-time officers. FMLA, 1 officer is on continuous FMLA and 37 officers have intermittent FMLA. Our budget as of March 31st, revenue was at 31% and expenses were at 27%. Inmates at or past the minimum dates, total is 16. We have 8 that have no home plan, 3 with a home plan submitted and they're awaiting approval, 1 who is awaiting placement into a rehab, and 4 who have been remanded for the balance of their sentence. Extraordinary occurrence reports. I listed that there were 4, but in reality, there's really only 1 because I just mentioned 2 were actually the previous month. So the 1 was on April 1st. We had a county inmate who was uncooperative upon booking, and he eventually complied with orders and was placed into a cell. But once there, he began to kick his door and bang his head off the cell door, and he was then placed into the restraint chair for his own safety. PREA, there were 2 PREA investigations that were completed in the month of March. 1 was an inmate allegation of sexual harassment. It was deemed unsubstantiated. And the other was an allegation of staff on inmate misconduct, sexual misconduct, and it was deemed unfounded. The completed PREA investigations have been forwarded to the district attorney's office. The only other thing that's not on the written report is I just want to mention there are no active known COVID-19 cases amongst staff or inmate at this point in time. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Warden Bennett? The numbers are significant, Warden. I attribute a lot of the reduction from the efforts of the court to see about thinning out the population during this virus.
Yeah, very much so. I've had a lot of contact with President Judge Barres. Provided him with a list of the inmates. This was back in mid-March, and the numbers have been going down. It's obvious that there's an effort to get those out who can be released safely to the public. And the result is that we're down about 200 inmates or so, maybe a little bit more than 200 inmates since January.
So in the event of an uptick in infections or a virus outbreak, you have the capacity right now to, I think, or do you have the capacity right now to safely separate people?
I believe so. What I did was I took advantage of our lower numbers and I completely cleared out a housing unit for males that is 120 beds and a housing unit for females that consists of 64 beds. If any infection ever or virus makes its way into this facility, our intention is to utilize those housing units as isolation infirmaries, something along those lines.
Okay.
And that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the warden? Okay. Thank you, Warden. I'll entertain a motion to approve both the reports of the warden.
Make a motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the warden's reports are approved. Okay, we go to the tablet policy under the category of old business. Not as old as I'm some days these days, but Where are we? Are we ready to take a vote?
Do you want me to speak on that?
Sure.
I believe in speaking with Sheriff McAndrew and District Attorney Powell. Their security issues have been addressed. So I would respectfully request that the board consider passing the inmate tablet policy at this time.
Okay. So we'll take that as a motion.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. On the question.
Just so we're clear, the proposed motion does not include any proportion of the fees for fines, cost, or restitution under 20-2014, correct?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding as well.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Based upon that, and of course, remember, it's a policy. We can fine tune it as we go. If we find problems or glitches that we didn't anticipate, we can always come back to it and study it as we have. And I appreciate everybody's patience and cooperation in coming to this. So with that, I have a motion and I have a second. Anybody else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I only heard two ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes, I'm opposed. While I don't oppose the use of tablets, I propose 2014 as it doesn't take into account victims' compensation.
Okay. Any other opposition? Okay. The ayes have it. The policy will be approved. Anything from the public?
No,
There was one additional thing that was added to the agenda. Tracy, was it added? The Second Amendment to the Inmate Communication Services Agreement?
I wasn't sure if you wanted to add that to this, or if you wanted to discuss it, or if you wanted to bring it up at a commissioners meeting. I wasn't sure when Don sent it this morning. He just sent it and didn't say anything else.
I asked Don, I wasn't sure about the procedure. He said that the board, we have to approve it, and then it'll have to be addressed at the commissioners meeting next week.
You want me to email it to everyone now?
Yeah, and I can.
Okay.
Judge Gibbons.
What are we talking about?
So Judge Gibbons, when I look back at the original contract between GTL and the county, it addressed both the tablets and the phone service. And the contract is set to expire next June of 2021. The tablets were addressed in it, but for obvious reasons, security issues and things of that nature, we just had not gotten the tablets approved. When I read there were two issues that I wanted to address with them. The first was the revenue disbursement between the county and GTL, because I noticed with the phone, the phone service, our revenue was a lot higher, our cut, than with the tablets. So I just wanted to address why there was such a discrepancy. So I had spoken to Tom Gibney from GTL. Our cut in the original agreement was 20% to the county and 80% to GTL. And right out of the gate, he indicated that they never pay more than 25% to prisons. So I said, okay, well, we would like 25% as opposed to the 20. And he agreed. So the Second Amendment to Inmate Communication Services Agreement, which was drafted by, I believe, Don Fredrickson, and then our solicitor, Dave Soffanelli, I believe, reviewed it as well. It indicates that the original contract is amended to include a 25-75 split as opposed to 20-80. And then the second and only other change is that GTL what happens is that everyone can have access to the tablets, obviously in accordance with the policy, and then there's unpaid content and paid content. But I was concerned about the indigent not having any access at all. And also about people maybe not being completely interested in them when they first come out. So I asked if they could at least give some benefit unpaid to all inmates so that the indigent would at least have an opportunity to get an idea of what the tablet's about, and that the people who maybe aren't interested will become interested and have an opportunity to use it. So they agreed to amend section 10.11.10 of the original agreement, and it says inmates shall be provided up to 3 minutes per day of free secure messaging via their tablets for the duration of this contract. These minutes must be used on the day they are provided and do not carry over. I know it's only 3 minutes, but 3 minutes is pretty long when you're in prison and you're communicating with someone. So I thought it was very generous of them to allow that, so that this way the indigent can at least have some form of messaging on there, and to try to get more people involved in an effort to hopefully reduce the amount of physical mail coming to the prison, to again reduce the amount of contraband coming to the prison via the mail. So they are the only two changes to the original contract. And I'm just asking, I'm requesting, I'm making a motion that the board please approve this second amendment to the original contract. And then if approved, we will address it at the commissioners meeting next week.
Well, is it a contract with the county, with the commissioners?
Yes, it's between, Jerry will have to sign it as the chair, but it's between GTL and Lackawanna County, yeah.
So there really isn't anything for us to approve. I guess you're looking for what, some sort of recommendation from the board?
I wasn't sure, honestly, whether it had to be approved by the board or approved at the commissioners meeting. Don said that it needed to be approved by the board and the commissioners. So that's why he said that I should address it at today's meeting. Like I said, it's fully favorable to the county. It gives us 5% more revenue and gives the all inmates at least some time of free messaging.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I want to be, clear on, what our role is. I don't believe the board.
That would be something we would take up at a commissioners meeting.
It would, Your Honor. I'm sorry, Debbie. It would, Your Honor.
That's okay, Frank. I was just following Don. I wasn't sure where it needed to be addressed or approved or whatnot, but either way, I did want to make the board aware of it.
Okay, well, that's fine. I think you said you're going to email around everything to everybody.
Everyone should have it by now.
Okay.
Judge, I would think it would just simply be a matter of it being addressed by the Board of Commissioners, since it's a contract with the commissioners. I'm guessing, I didn't speak with Donnie about it, but I guess as a matter of courtesy, probably advise Debbie just to bring it up before the board so that, we could have, or the Board of Commissioners could have some sense of whether or not the prison board was agreeable with the proposed amendments before it was put before the Board of Commissioners to take an actual vote.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And as a practical matter, I think, in the language of the law anyway, the could be a third party beneficiary of the contract. So it makes sense that we know what it's about and get a chance to weigh in on it.
And it was sent to me the other day to look at for form and content. I think it's historically, because it's a contract and the county is the contracting body, but it deals exclusively with activities or events at the prison. They historically come to the prison board, to review it ahead of time.
I have a question, if I may. Is the term the same? No change to the termination date?
Correct. The expiration of the contract will still be, I forget what the specific day is, but June of next year.
Okay. All right.
Debbie, are they going to forward a copy of the revised language, or is that in what Tracy already sent us?
The revised language is what Tracy sent you.
Okay.
It's already been executed by
The VP.
the VP of Contracts and Procurement at Global.
Okay.
And then Frank, once it's approved next Wednesday, we will have to let, I forget the name of the company that keeps track of our revenue from the GTL contract.
Sure.
But we will need to notify them so that they ensure that we get 25 as opposed to 20%.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. All right, so I'll ask everybody to take a look at that. Any thoughts that you have around to the group. So the commissioners are consensus. Okay. Still nothing from the public? Tracy?
No, still nothing.
Okay. Any other business from the members? I hear nothing. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tracy, for I'll look forward to seeing you all in person one of these days, but this is better than nothing.
Yes, it is.
As
Thank
usual.
you. Good job.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.